Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel.
Don't need to recount the votes. I'm here to destroy all your hopes, dreams, aspirations. It's like poetry with musical inclinations. I see you peripherally, breathe easily, step lightly like on eggshells, or see real shells. I ring bells, bling bling is green. Don't necessarily need to be seen, but I do need to be heard. In my brain I've accumulated mucho verbs. I'm taking herds to the third curve, tentacles reaching up into the suburbs. 10 o'clock, do you know where your child is at? Inside of a room, all black, grown men beats, that's where we at. As I stack chips, pockets ain't made of glass, so you can't see me dip.
Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel.
Came from the water, evaporated moisture. Wavy wave in here, I do it for the culture. Cypher, music, I do this. 2023, still moving with a movement. BK where I came from, but the BX raised me in 2015. I became wavy, named by SB. The streets never changed me. I just work smarter, I just work harder. Wanna be Nino, so I need a Carter. So I moved to Harlem, that's where it all started. Discovered my flow, and I became a problem. Can't solve them, why would you want to? I do what I want to, you do what you can do. When it come to bars, I'm lit like a candle.
Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from a Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my kings, rocking kingdom apparel. Source from the Pharaoh. I do this for my queens, rocking kingdom apparel.
Plus, I've got no area. I'm scarier than rebels in Somalia. Fools be thinking my last name, it's Ochoa. Supplier, mozzarella. Observe as I bum rush the Federal Reserve. Sensory overload, making you victim of my venom. Breaking down your molecular structure before I digest even. Instant paralysis. I'm crazy swift with this. You're on my hit list. I'm on your chick's wish list because of this ability to strike repeatedly. Stay coiled. Fools test disembowels. I bring freaks out at night like the gargoyles.
Source from the Pharaoh.
All right, are we on? Greetings in the name of all things just and compassionate. Welcome to our weekly podcast. I don't like to start out complaining, but let me say, I've been to sea and nobody call me seaman. I helped to row across and nobody call me Roman. I love to barbecue, nobody call me Coleman. I was born after slavery, nobody call me Freeman. You know, like Morgan. Don't know if I would have wanted to be called Herman. I did take a hit, but nobody called me Sherman. I ran solo for a while, nobody called me Solomon. And I asked a lot of questions, but nobody called me Wyman. Sit in this chair one time every week, and now they call me Chairman. Be that as it may, I will go with that title. I am your chairman, G. Michael Reid. This is our weekly show, and we call this one Read Between the Lines, because they tend to put me in between the lines and put my fellow co-hosts, who are usually with me every week, on the side. We have welcomed Jeremy Spooner as a regular co-host. Joe Coway, of course, has always been on, and Speak of the Devil, here he goes. A little bit about our forum before we go on. We have no sacred cows, no axe to grind, no agendas, political or otherwise. We confront the issues front on. We we just argue a bit. We do some arguing, and not to be confused with quarreling, because many times people conflate the two. They are not the same. An argument is like a princess. A quarrel is like a whore. Nothing alike. Now we have different things that we argue about, and there are rules. One is that you can speak until you make your point, but you cannot speak until you convince everybody that your point is valid and makes sense. The premise of your argument must do that on its own. So, without further ado, let me invite to the show, uh, uh, contrary to what a lot of people might think, New York, and I almost put on my New York shirt. I hate the Celtics. They are. I imagine, listen, anyway. Listen, we have as a guest on the show tonight. Say hello, Jeremy. Unmute your mic for me. Unmute your mic. Unmute the mic, boy. Your
Who,
mic
me?
is. No,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
Jeremy.
The guy in the top there. His mic is on mute. Do you have a mute button there, Jeremy, on your thing? Is mute? All right.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
You're on double now. Where did it?
Well, double here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of you is too much. You were calling with
I
two.
can't take two away.
Why? That is too much. Let me
Where's the
invite.
mayor? Where's the mayor?
I don't know. He's always late in a dollar a day late and a dollar short. But make you see, he might show. Um, let's invite to the show our guest. This gentleman, he goes by the name of Ironclad Partiality. But what is your real name, sir? And what is your self-introduction, if you will?
Percy, good enough. Percy Lewis are the last name.
Okay.
Ironclad by AKA. You have to do with the Belize Guatemala case. That somebody penned it for me. Ironclad case.
Okay.
But I've been in.
Do you believe that? Do you believe we have an ironclad case?
I do, of course.
So, but you have a social platform, and you dub that Belize Guatemala dispute.
Right.
Now, so how do you explain that? Is there a dispute that we have?
Yes, because it's one-sided, but it's still you don't have to go out and make enemies to have enemies. So Guatemala having a claim on Belizean territory makes it a dispute.
Mm-hmm.
One-sided though it may.
Does it?
The claim, no?
Does it make them our enemy?
Well, technically yes, because they are claiming the country, our country. But if notwithstanding, we are technically. We have diplomatic relations with Guatemala. We've had that since the 90s, early 90s.
Okay. Jeremy, any thoughts on that matter?
Well, this morning I caught a glimpse of this. I don't know if he's the ex-foreign minister called Rodrigo Velman. And I looked at the name Velman, and it's sort of German. It could be Jewish also. So I don't know, anything about Israel, in there. He could be a German Jew that lives in Guatemala. And I checked out, there's only 1,000 Jews in Guatemala, mostly in Guatemala City, and they're pretty influential. One thing I didn't like what he said. He said that they're claiming all the way up to the Saboon River, and that anybody who owns any land there, whether they're Belizean or foreigners, it will be revoked.
Mm-hmm. Well, he can say anything he wants to say. I mean, they've been saying that for years.
And then I listened to
the president.
Right. Just now, and my God, it's like all these terrible things to say about Trump and Charlie Kirk. That's what I think I'm watching it. The man got the news backwards. He's telling us that we are the bad guys.
I don't know that he's saying that. In fact, I heard him say that he has lots of friends in Belize, and he really wants resolve this matter amicably.
But
Uh,
that we provoked this incident. It was us. It was the BDF that
well,
provoked
well,
this incident.
well. Let's be real. Let's be real. It's before the courts. Why are we insisting on going up the Sarstoon right now? Let the court decide what is going on, don't you think?
But it started with them planting their flag on the Sarstoon Island.
All right, I understand that. That needed to be disputed. But are we gonna contest these people militarily? You of all people, are you believe that the British are gonna run to our aid right now and fight this battle for us, or are we able to fight it on our own?
Well, I don't. Prince Charles is the head of our state. He's represented here in Belize by the Governor General, and even though he's just pretty much of a figurehead, he can recommend
Ceremonial,
things.
purely
Huh?
ceremonial, purely ceremonial.
That's correct. Yep. And I one time talked to some British guys in the military and so on, and I also spoke to a former British High Commissioner, and he said that England would not let Belize just go like that.
Did we, when we got independence in 1981, did we have a defense guarantee?
No, we didn't. That was one
All
of
right.
our problems. Remember,
right.
George Price came back and said he did.
No, he was trying to get it, but we know when we went in, we didn't.
And they weren't going to leave. They weren't going to leave. They were going to leave immediately, but then they took a year. He negotiated a deal where they would take over a year to gradually leave Belize while we prepared for this eventuality. But I did a lot of work for the British government, for the British soldiers, by processing their film. And this, I remember it was a trouble in the Gallon Jug area, and Said said that we can't be hanging on to our mother's coattail all the time. If they want to go, make them go. And the British High Commission at the time said, well, is that what it's going to be like?
I don't think it was that simple. And you asked about.
No, I remember it very well because
hold on. You asked about. All right. Go ahead.
Because I did a lot of work with them. Bat Sub had an account with me where all the British soldiers.
But go ahead. Finish the point.
There were 5,000. What I'm saying is that we gave them the green light for them to go. But George Price went back and he went to England, remember, and he came back saying that they weren't going to leave immediately. We lost $60 million income a year from the British soldiers being here, and they left. They left in 1 month afterwards because my sales went right down to zero. There was no more work with the Bat Sub. So they didn't take a year to gradually leave. They left immediately. So no deal was made. Whether they're going to come back and fight for us, I don't know. If you can ask young British boys, 18-year-old boys who haven't got a clue about Belize, for them to die for Belize. Are our young youth willing to die for Belize?
All right, Percy. Let me introduce Spooner, J.S. Spooner. You know Spooner, and of course the former mayor of Belize, former politician. I think he kind of like draw out of that field there for now. Joe, welcome to the show, Joe Coe.
Good evening, Joe.
Nice being with you all.
Joe Percy has a forum, a social platform that he does commentaries from time to time. He goes under the acronym, if you don't know acronym, a nickname of Ironclad, because he believes that our case with the ICJ is ironclad. I share that sentiment. What do you think? And what do you think about what Spooner is saying about the British, why they left, how they left, and would they come back?
Well, I support.
Okay.
Make Joe finish it. I get to the person directly.
I support the opinion you all hold of ironclad. Maybe I'm going a little bit too hyperbolic now to call it ironclad. But I have followed this case very closely, and I have all reason to believe that it is favorable disposed for Belize to win. Now, coming back to the issue of, I didn't get what Mr. Spooner was saying about the British leaving.
He said that we told them to go and they packed up and left.
There was a skirmish. Don't you remember, Joe? There was a skirmish in the Gallon Jug area where there was a standoff between British troops and the Guatemalans in that area. And I remember the British High Commissioner saying that it's unfair for young British boys to be dying to protect illicit stuff that was going on in that part of Belize. No? And then I guess they announced that, and then they were given the green light. If they want to go, go. And they went.
Well, to the best of my recollection,
I'll go research, you can see.
Yeah, these things were happening while I was in government. I was a minister of government. And to the best of my knowledge, the defense agreement had come to an end. So when the agreement came to an end, evidently they were to leave, except that it was agreed that because they find Belize to be a good training ground, given the jungle, etc., that they wanted permission to stay here for the training, and that was agreed to. But as to the defense guarantee, that came to an end officially.
Yeah, so because Jeremy is saying that George Price went back and said after that we did have a defense guarantee.
No. When the defense guarantee, there was a period where it was agreed it will come to an end. A matter of fact, what is important to know about that guarantee is that when we got to independence at the time, we had no such guarantee. So it was a risk we took, no? And Mr. Price told us that at the time that he said it was a risk because he went for the independence before we got the guarantee. So it was after the independence we got the British to give us the defense guarantee. But it was for a limited period, and we were to prepare ourselves as best as possible. And that is why I think that good sense was telling us that the defense guarantee will come to an end. But we must make sure, that we go to the International Court of Justice because we believe we had a strong claim. And that to me was rational and mature decisions to take. While the defense was there, that was the time for you to try to seek a solution through the International Court of Justice.
All right, Percy, what do you think about going to the ICJ? Were you in favor of it? Did you vote in favor of going to the ICJ? And do you think now it was a good idea?
Yeah. I wrote the book recommending that we go because we had to go through the referendum first in both countries. What happened, the history, gentlemen, is that from 1985 to 80, every year we got resolutions having lobbied various countries in the world within the UN system, and every year we would get more and more supporters for our independence.
Well, didn't you?
So 75, 76, 77,
not run past that because that didn't just happen, and that was due to hard work on the part of George Price and some of his diplomats.
Precisely.
So, yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes, lobbying, and
right.
So at 1980, the resolution was very strong, and that one was finally supported by the U.S. under
President Carter.
Yeah.
That's right.
So for the first time, they supported the resolution, the U.S. did, and it said that we must get our independence within a year, therefore before the next UN General Assembly, 1 year later. However, it did say that we must resolve the dispute, among other things. We must get it with sovereignty intact as one. Now, the attempts to resolve the dispute, as you gentlemen lived through, like I did, was at that time, the heads of agreement that was signed in March in London, and on our behalf, my colleague Assad Shuman represented us there as foreign minister. But it was suddenly defeated and rejected here in Belize. We had that riot across all kinds of lines, including unions and so on. So we got our independence months later in September 81 without any conditions, because as you know, the heads of agreement had stipulations in there that they wanted to control the report, and they wanted use and access of the Rangwana and Sapodela and things like that. They wanted some hand in the military, things like that. But we got our independence without any conditions.
But
That's the point.
did you say the heads of agreement were signed in England?
That's right. But it was defeated
But how could
because
it
of
be
the
defeated?
riot.
But whoa. How could it be defeated if it was signed?
It was signed, but it didn't go through because the people of Belize rejected it.
So they what? Drew back the signature? Can that be done? Joe, do you have
No.
any input? Joe, you
What
have any
happened?
knowledge on that?
Yeah, I'm very knowledgeable of it. Again,
Go ahead, Mia. Go ahead.
Involved in that. Firstly, the heads of agreement was exactly what it said. It's nothing that we had agreed to. These were things that were put on the table for discussions. So there was nothing that we had agreed to, except we agreed that these are the things that we should be discussing with Guatemala. Evidently, when the matter came to the Belizean people, there were so many people, I must say, even violently objecting to it. I could recall we were at the Majestic Theatre at the time when the union, the Public Service Union, had a meeting. And the meeting was never to make a decision to strike. But some rabble rousers were there, and they brought information from a meeting in Belmopan, and they began to spout some things there which were not true. And some of us were so gullible at the time, public officers, and they take it to be true. And they started to threaten that if they don't withdraw the heads of agreement, that they are going on strike indefinitely. So right across the country where you had these pockets of resistance to the heads of the agreement, they became extremely aggressive. And it was thought best to do is to withdraw it.
So, but was it signed or was it not signed?
Now, the signature had, all the signature that I was doing is to say that these are the points that we would want us, we are prepared to sit down with Guatemala to discuss. That's all.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
all right.
Nothing that we had.
In other words, it didn't go through because it
was strongly
there were
defeated in Belize.
the things that were supposed to happen. They would never happen because there wasn't an agreement on our side.
But firstly, I'm confused. If it was signed by us, and you said your friend, your co-worker, or somebody,
Assad Shuman,
went to England and signed this heads of agreement.
No. Let's understand it. I was involved in it myself. Assad Shuman and I were classmates, of course. We were all involved. The heads of agreement was not anything that we were signing as a treaty, where we have to sign and then we will have to go and get the support. No, it was a sitting down discussion where we thought that these heads, these different things in there, which I myself never felt that we would have ever supported them, like the use and enjoyment of our keys.
That's right.
The use of our ports. They will be able to have right to use the port. They will be able
That's
to have
right.
right to pass the pipelines for oil through the country.
That's right. That's right.
Soldiers, they'll be able to have soldiers in the country defending the pipelines. So when we examine those things under the heads of agreement, all that use and enjoyment of our keys and of our port, free access, they want to use the port free with no fees.
That's right.
We too realize that these are not things that we would ever agree to. So the strategy that we used at the time, that we needed the support of the British. And if we had objected outright around that table, the British should not have gone with us. The British were supporting it. The truth about the British, they wanted to get out of it. So they were prepared to whatever it means for them to get out. If it means that we have to give up part of Belize, that would have been okay with them. Because they wanted to get out. So what we agreed, those around the table at the time would be surprised at us. We will agree with what the British is asking us to do. But we had the belief that we only agreed because if we didn't, they may interfere with the defense. So we agreed to it with it, knowing that when they get to Belize, they might reject it. And they rejected it. So we get out of it.
Right. So the British were the go-between, because at the time they also had diplomatic relations with Guatemala, which we hadn't yet established. But then, because of the turn of events, the Guatemalans reacted when we got our independence by breaking diplomatic ties and relations with the British. So it wasn't until 85 that diplomatic relations between those two were restored. But because we got our independence without conditions, aided by the British, that affected the British adversely with Guatemala, because then the Guatemalans broke off diplomatic relations, and that happened for about 4 or 5 years, from the time of our independence until 85, when diplomatic relations bilaterally between the British and Guatemala were restored.
All right, let me see what Deidre is saying. Guatemala's entire claim is based upon the 1493 Doctrine of Discovery. Unlike Belize, their colonial past is honored and celebrated. Guatemala also has an unapologetic history of genocide against their indigenous people, which is true. A couple of points I'd like to make here, that one of the last countries to recognize Belize's independence was the nation of Israel, the newly found nation of Israel. The current president of Guatemala was educated and graduated from the university, the Hebrew University in Israel. So we're looking at something here where, and Jeremy was talking about the foreign minister and the name of him that could be, but and of course there's only 1,000 Jews in Guatemala. I've seen that, but they're very influential. And of course, when it comes to banks and monies and whatnot, they usually have their hands deep in that. So I think that apartheid that we have to be careful of, which is why I am concerned about us doing anything to instigate some kind of dispute, further dispute between us. I think we're at a disadvantage. And in fact, right now, the Israelis are funded in big part by the UK. They have many protests over there right now because of that. They might be second behind the US in giving plane parts. In fact, the Harriers that we might be depending on here are currently flying reconnaissance flights over Palestine for the Israelis. So I think that one part that we need to pay careful attention to and be careful how we step forward. Yes. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to ask you, when we went into independence, our borders were accepted as starting from the medium of the Sarstoon River.
Right.
Anything north of that, which included the Sarstoon Island, is Belizean. Is that correct?
That was the boundary, yeah. The boundary. According to the 1859 treaty.
Yes, okay. So why is all of a sudden Guatemala saying that is not ours? All of a sudden, did we not have a base on the island?
Okay, Percy has some thoughts on it. Go ahead, Percy.
Yeah. What happened after World War II, when Guatemala got caught with their pants down, because the UN was established as well as the ICJ 44. So that same year then, Guatemala quickly changed their constitution to include the stipulation that Belize form part of Guatemala. That's from 44. The same year UN started, same year ICJ started. And that also answers your question regarding what you said earlier. When the British left, it was because the statute of limitation, the 50-year statute of limitation, had run out around 94 under Esquivel's first reign. And so the British felt comfortable and finished packing up, yes, without a security guarantee, because the statute of limitation, ICJ, had run out on Guatemala for filing the claim at the ICJ. So that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, all right. But now, Andesia was talking about a treaty, I believe she said 1493, which actually was when Pope Gregory, I believe it was it Gregory? Alexander, which Pope? That split the
This
world
thing.
in two.
Well, you see, that wasn't Guatemala. That's what they inherited from Spain.
Yeah. All right. But
Pope Alexander, yes, Pope Alexander and Queen Isabella.
Split the world in two and gave half to Spain and half to Portugal.
Portugal, that's right.
The Pope.
So we were supposed to be.
Guatemala benefited from that, but Guatemala had nothing to do with that.
How did Guatemala benefit from that? By being
because
a
of their
colony of
inheritance.
Spain?
They inherited their country. Because they inherited their country.
Yeah.
Just like how we inherit from the British.
I think I would like to intervene here, Mr. Chairman. Please.
Yeah.
Guatemala did not inherit its country from Spain. All the Central American countries declared a UDI. It was a Declaration of Independence from Spain. And there was a federation of them.
Yes.
And they demanded independence. It was Declaration of Independence. So Spain never gave them independence. They took it. They took it. It was a federation.
Yeah.
And afterwards,
and Mexico was the first among all of them.
The federation began to break up. And each one of them went their independent way.
A question. Question.
A unilateral Declaration of Independence. That's what they had called it, a UDI.
A question, because Guatemala is saying that they inherited the claim and beliefs from Spain. Has Spain had anything to say about this? Has Spain been involved in the negotiation at all? Have we approached them and asked them what are the story here?
So what had happened is that for the purpose of administrative tidiness, which all these colonial powers were doing, Spain, Britain, and all of them. In the case of Spain in this area, they had what you call provinces. Spain divided the area into provinces.
Right.
Now, what happened is that Guatemala was trying to claim that the province under which Guatemala came, Belize was a part of that province. That is not true. The Mexicans are claiming, and that is more rightly so from history, that the province that Mexico was under, that part of it for Spain, that Belize was in fact a part of that province. So when Guatemala was trying to make its claim that it was because of the province that they were under, Belize was a part of that when it was not. So if anybody had a claim based on that particular thing, it would have been more Mexico than Guatemala. But that didn't hold up either because the Mexicans never did push it and they wouldn't win with it. So that was what happened. Guatemala never did one day ever occupy this territory. Never did. No possession, no occupation.
That is true.
Okay.
But if I may.
Go ahead.
Belize, former British Honduras, we established consolidation of our territory in 3 phases. The first logging treaty in 1783 with Spain, covering from the Rio Hondo to the Belize River, that boundary. 3 years later in 1786, an annex to that first one, to expand to Belize River to the South Stone. And then in 1798, what we celebrate a week and a half or so ago, whether it was a battle or a skirmish, it matters less. What matters more is that it was at that point that we consolidated the rest of the territory and border, covering then from Garbot Falls to the middle of the South Stone, as Spooner said, the middle, the deepest part. From the mouth to the middle, deepest part. So that was in 3 phases. If it were a battle, then we win by force of arms. If it were only a skirmish, Spain never returned, so they acquiesced legally. Either way, we won.
Yeah. Huh? Now, 1859, there was a treaty signed between England and Spain, correct? Or is England, Guatemala, which one?
Guatemala.
England and Guatemala, which then defined the borders, and that is where we got the Sarstoon, the midway point, which is deepest part of the channel, to be our border there, and the Sarstoon Island fell within that.
Before that, right? We got it when Spain acquiesced, 1798, because it wasn't Guatemala yet. They didn't get independence till later on. You follow? All right, good. So, we claim just like how they claim.
Exactly. Let me read this first. Captaincy of Guatemala, Spain never.
To Mexico.
I read something.
Captains in general for Spain at 1798 came to Mexico, attacking Belize, not to Guatemala.
I'm reading
As
something.
the mayor said, they never established administration over Belize.
I am reading something. Spain never inhabited the area of Belize. Belize was considered a swampland infested with mosquitoes and venomous snakes by Spain. Occupation needs to be considered. Who was in the area of Belize before Spanish conquest and constantly defended it? I would have to say, well, the Mayans were here.
No, I think I would like to differ with this statement, and I can maybe be corrected by the historians. The truth about it, the colonizers, Spain, Portugal, Britain, all of them, many of them never did occupy many parts of those land which they claim they belong to them, which the Pope divided. So it's not that none of them colonizers had ever occupied the total land area that they were under them. They didn't. So therefore, it's a fact that based upon when they divided the world, as you rightly say, with the anytime all of them countries, I mean, Roman Catholics, Christians, Roman Catholics, as we call them. They were all Roman Catholics, Spain, Portugal, Britain, and all of them. So that's why the Pope wielded so much power.
Who got a bunch of dogs to fight? If you're not a talk, mute your mic for me if your dog's to fight. Because it kind of like give a little distraction here.
I don't know what part is. Yeah,
the only thing down there is only mic, right? Where you touch and then tie up that dog for me and see if you can put it in the next room, no? All right.
I think this is a very important note that is putting up here. The 1859 Clayton Boulevard Treaty. And the filibuster, it had a lot to do with it. That is correct.
There was a treaty before the 1859 treaty, the Clayton Boulevard Treaty. And let me go on with this. This claim is false, as Spain acknowledged the Kingdom of Mosquito, which would not have been then a part of Guatemala, imagine. The Treaty of 1740 that transferred British protectorate to the area of Belize and the Mosquito Shore was signed by indigenous King Edward. Now, when you say indigenous, King Edward was what? Indigenous to where? Belize, but to the area, to the Mosquito course? I don't know. But apparently now, from what we're hearing, and I think most of us agree, that we have a very good case, maybe not ironclad, as Percival would say, but certainly a strong case. And I think that we are overreacting when we now, to every little thing that Guatemala said, we jump up and ball. I remember distinctly there was a time when you heard Guatemala was coming, and half a Benque, Rongana, Corozal deserted the area near that border. Many of them name returned. So I had a interesting story. I had a fellow work for me who was a former soldier in the Guatemalan army. And he related to me a story, and I checked it out. He said that in 1976, Guatemala's army was aligned with Salvador's army along the border and was getting ready to invade Belize. He said that the Harriers eventually came, but they would have been late, because what saved Belize was a massive earthquake that happened in Mexico City. That everybody was disorganized and chaos, and they didn't have the cohesion to continue with that invasion. From the research I've done, there was an earthquake there at that time, and there are records that they had intentions then of making a move. I believe that was the last time that they made any serious effort. What I'm saying, and I've listened to the president of Guatemala, and I know that people are saying, no, we don't want to hear nothing from that. Alone lies anyway, they say anyway. But I'm saying, I listened to a speech that he gave to the United Nations in 2024. This was just last year, when he said that he would love to settle the claim and that he is willing to abide by any decision that the ICJ makes. I think we're in a position now where that the best opportunity for us to resolve this whole matter. Anybody disagree with me on that?
I fully support you on that.
Yeah, it's the best option than actually spilling blood, right?
The truth about it, I don't know if we have any other option.
Exactly. Exactly.
We have options.
It's either fight or accept.
And can we fight? What do we have to fight with, Germany? Have we been preparing ourselves?
We haven't been prepared.
Except for talk?
Military confrontation is not an option.
I don't know how. If we armed every single person, we would still be shot. So, and I'm careful about wary and concerned about those voices from abroad that have been trying to stir this thing. Oh, go up on the Sarstoon. Make them know. The government have to do more, man. Send soldiers out there on the borders. And I'm saying, are you guys serious? How about trying the diplomatic course first? How about trying to see if we can settle this thing in a way amicable? I believe that when Wilma here and his crowd go up to Sarstoon, if they meet the Guatemalans, offer them 1-2 dokuno, 1-2 pow meat pie. You know, let us just catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Why are we insisting on using vinegar when we got no bucket tiv? We the talk big and shit small.
So your advice would be to bite your top lip and just wait till the ICJ.
No, not bite with top lip as such, because we want to. Whenever something happens that we feel as like is an encroachment or anything there, we send that diplomatic note. We have been doing that. We just make it known.
But it doesn't solve the problem, because
of course not. But that is not what's going to solve the problem, Jeremy. The court will.
So,
can I ask Mr. Spooner a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What would be your decision if you were in charge? What would you do?
Well,
what would you do?
I have no idea what our military can do. I don't know how we are. I don't know how. I do not know. Watching the war in Gaza, watching the war in Ukraine, does Guatemala have drones? Does they have missiles? Because if they do,
well, we don't.
We will be.
Maybe sorry. Allow me to rephrase my question. Maybe it wasn't clear enough.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances of the situation with Belize and Guatemala, what other option is there other than diplomatic option through the channels of the OAS and awaiting the ICJ? What other options we have? There's
only the diplomatic option, because we're not willing to fight for what is our territory.
Was there's nothing to debate, because what he said, that's all.
Yes, there is. Yes. It doesn't end there.
All right, let's hear the option.
All right, Percy.
You see the diplomatic note is just part of the diplomatic tool. Now that the case is at the ICJ, and the oral argument set to begin on the 24th of November, we can request the ICJ to issue an injunction against Guatemala so they keep on the bloody side of the Sarstoon.
Yes, why can't we enforce that until the ICJ makes its decision?
Enforce it how?
Injunction from the ICJ.
Where is the OAS in this? Guatemala has agreed that what we claim is our territory, and Guatemala is claiming that they want Belize up to the Sebun River. But right now, so they agreed to go to court. So why are they disrespecting us and going into our territory?
Because they are fighting to show effective control over the area, particularly particularly since we in effect repealed the Maritime Areas Act, which allowed them 9 out of 12 miles of our territorial waters.
But we didn't repeal the
As
Maritime Areas
the
Act.
mayor rightly said, Guatemala never exercised administration over Belize, never did.
Neither
But
did
we haven't
Spain.
repealed the Maritime Areas Act, Mr. Percy.
Huh?
We haven't repealed
what?
the Maritime Areas Act.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
No.
before we took
You're
the case
saying, hold on. You're saying we repealed it.
in effect, I said. In effect, I said. In effect, I said.
What does that mean, sir?
That they no longer have the use of 9 out of 12 miles of our territorial waters, which the tool allowed them, which the Maritime Areas Act allowed them. Whether or not you use the word repeal is irrelevant.
No, let me introduce something here, and this is from the legal luminaries, the international legal experts. The Maritime Areas Act is very likely will go into effect if we win the case. It will, because the Maritime Areas Act was to give recognition to the international law of the sea, and the then president, with the opposition leader at the time, I think it was Mr. Baron Esquivel and them, and the government, had an understanding that if we pass the Maritime Areas Act, he was prepared to support giving recognition to Belize territorial integrity.
Yes, but I disagree with that view.
And when he did that, the oligarchy, as they call it in Guatemala, and I want to speak about the oligarchy in the case of what is happening at the South soon. They routed him. The president had to flee.
But before he did recognize Belize. Remember
That's
that?
right.
Serrano. Serrano was the president.
That's right.
And he came out of, but that is something that the courts have decided is you cannot go back on that. That is something irreversible. So we have that in our favor, but we're not looking at things like that. And I think we're overreacting, man. We're being paranoid most of the time.
If you read the Maritime Areas Act, you know what it was doing?
Giving them access to the sea, right?
The Maritime Areas Act.
Let me weigh in.
To the international law of the sea. So if we win the case at the ICJ, the court will have to rule on something that we should have already recognized, which we did not.
That is hogwash. Hogwash, Mayor.
No, that's a fact. That's a legal fact.
Hold up.
That is no legal fact.
Let me
the
ask
Maritime Areas Act. Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Is self-inflicted. It only applies in Belize. It's an act, not a down treaty.
It's not a treaty, man. We're not saying it's a treaty.
That is my point. It is self-inflicted. It only applies in Belize.
Hold on.
When we repeal it or in effect repeal it, then it's dead.
Hold on. Was the Maritime Area Act a bad thing? And why? You person.
It served its purpose in the early 90s because it was used to establish diplomatic relations between the two countries. So that they have an embassy in ours and we have an embassy in theirs. That is one. And you talk the Serrano thing, that is true. He came, he hit Sonia Tanbon or so. But then it cost him when he went back. Yes. Because it's tantamount to treason.
We said that.
I'm finishing up. It's tantamount to treason in Guatemala. So he exiled himself to Panama because of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but let me continue, if you'll allow me to, Mr. Chairman. You remember the Maritime Areas Act was exactly what divided the UDP when Philip Golson and others removed themselves. No. We knew that what Serrano was asking us to do was something that we would have been obligated to do under the international law of the sea. And then that was one of the things he put to us at the meeting we had. I think it was some part in the, I forget where it was. But if we do these things, let's begin to work together. And that then he will give the recognition to the independence of Belize with its territorial integrity. That was the agreement we were
which he did. Now, Joe.
Right.
Look. That is not so. That is not so.
Let me just finish. I was involved in it, so I'm telling you. No. what we did was this. Come on, hold on. What we did was
Not ridicule it. Not ridicule it, Percy, because you had your opportunity to speak, and you will have your opportunity to speak again. Let's not disrespect each other here, right? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, kind of. What happened? Same. We passed it. It became law, and it is still law. Unfortunately, yes, it is true that we did not repeal it. The only difference in it is that we cannot effect it. But it was told to us, and we all agree, and we should know this, that we win the case at the ICJ. That same act with the territorial waters of it will be put into effect. Because
may I ask a question? Are we ceding any territory with the Maritime Area Act, or is it more so just a goodwill measure to allow them access to the sea?
That was what it was. But it's not just goodwill. It was we had not yet recognized the new international law of the sea. Remember, we had a guy here. You remember him? He died. He was very good.
Judge Lang.
Lang and I were personal friends, very close. He was more of the UDP origin. I was PP, but we were very close. He married to a cousin of mine. No, he was very good. He was good, and the two governments used him. We knew that under the international law of the sea, that we had not yet done what's supposed to have been done. So when we gone for the Maritime Areas Act, we were beginning to give recognition to what we had to do anyhow. So if we win the case, which I believe we will win, it will still have to go into effect, but the International Court of Justice will then make the decision that we must comply with international law of the sea, which we have to do.
Can I?
Hold on, but I just finished with it. What the law is saying is that where two countries locks in a third country, the law of the median comes into effect. So we cannot lock in Guatemala. So two countries will have to concede a certain amount of waters that would have been their territorial waters. But because we locked in, we have to give up that portion. And the delimitation will begin at the Ranguana entrance.
But that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. That's a law of the sea. All we were doing, we're taking
look, Mike, when you're ready, I need a break there.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
And I will tell you this, Joe. Let Guatemala argue their one case. However, Judge Lang was the one who wrote the legislation for our territorial waters, 12 miles. And also, he was the first on the first court there in I went to that court there in Germany. He was already dead, but I went to see his office and helped to establish our 200-mile continental shelf, nautical miles. The allocation for maritime evolved over time. When the United States take a piece, and so then everybody else start to make it legal, and then they apply for a piece, whatever. But it evolved. That's not something whether from way back when you got your space. But with respect to what the mayor said, huh? Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
What evolved? What evolved?
The claim of maritime space.
But outside
of territorial waters, 12 miles.
Yeah, you guys are breaking up for me.
Yeah, I don't know. But hold on, Percy, because there's a law of the sea, right? An international law that pertains to the sea. That every country has X miles. Well, let me finish. Has X amount of miles out towards the sea. 12 miles is it? But because
12 miles territorial waters.
Okay, so because Honduras has the same thing that we have, and then together with us it would lock, so Guatemala would not have access. It is determined that we ought to give a corridor to, and isn't that fair, even, or just humane?
That's what I was trying to explain. If you give me time, what happened? Belize is all seashore on the Caribbean. So we have 240 miles. Guatemala only have a third of that on the Pacific, on the Atlantic side.
The Pacific.
The Pacific side, thank you. They only have a third of that. And the shape is like on the bottom, small, on the top, wide, like a funnel. So at the bottom, it's like your seashore line. At the top is the big mouth of the funnel. So the farther out to sea, the bigger your allocation. So as you get into the, where you say Pacific, as you get further out, the smaller Guatemala's allocation, the bigger Belize's and Honduras's, because of the amount of space you occupy on your seashore line, which Belize have almost 3 times what Guatemala has. But Guatemala is also on the Atlantic. But anyway, that's enough there for now.
But you said nothing.
Judge Lang,
you said nothing. You said nothing, sir.
Mr. Percy,
you said nothing.
Let me correct you on this. Let me correct you, please. There is a 12 miles of territorial waters that begins under international law from the coastline of a country. Then after that 12 miles is 22 miles of economic zone, which the country have all the economic benefits within that 22 miles. So our coastal, you know where our coastal area begins? Do you know where it begins? That is shoreline, you know. It begins at the farthest keys. And the farthest keys to the south of us is Hunting Key and the Ranguana Range. Then the farthest to the northeast is the key out there. I forgot the name of it right now. No, it's from there.
I'm coming back, G-Mac. I have to go reboot my router, you guys. I'm losing you guys.
All right. Wait, Payo. Go ahead. Well, we'll be here when you get back. Yeah.
So what happens? When you begin to extend for your own from where it is, if you're out at Hunting Key, and I've spent a lot of nights out there, you can see the lights. In fact, you can easily go right across. So when we to extend, and Honduras do the same, we cannot do that under the international law of the sea. So we have to find what they call the median point. And it's at the median point you will make the division. That's under an international law of the sea. It is not for us now to decide what it will be. We have to comply with it. So if we win the case at the International Court of Justice, we'll expect, and we were all told that already, we'll expect then that the court will then declare, in accordance with the international law of the sea, the very thing that we were trying to give effect through the maritime area as well. And that is what the
precisely. Precisely. I agree with that. The court will also decide to in effect do the boundaries on the maritime side. Yes.
But Percy, don't you think that even if the courts were not ordering that, which they probably will, that it would be neighborly of us to give access at least to the sea?
Mr. Chairman,
it
will not be neighborly of us. It is an obligation, an international legal obligation on us to do it.
Look, you need 2 pennies to Rackleman, okay? The other country has a claim on yours. And so we can scarcely, I mean, there are times when relations completely broke down, except of late with because of the intervention of the OAS. So I'm saying to you, we have to just, since we agreed to go to the ICJ, we just wait for them to rule. But in the meantime, it's very risky. That is the answer to your question. To go ahead and say, well, drill for oil in a police space. Or on the border with Guatemala, because you see what is happening. Conflict because it's risky.
But we're not saying that. Who is saying that? Who is even recommending that?
No, you're talking about neighborliness. It would have been neighborly of them to allow us. Hello.
Hello. What do you mean? I'm talking about a corridor to the sea, to giving Guatemala access to pass through a certain area, getting some of our territory and some of Honduras territory so that they're able to get through to the ocean. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being able to give them any access to
It is
anything.
not that they cannot get through,
And
Mike.
what they call that corridor, Mr. Chairman, under international law of the sea, is what you call innocent passage, which they have
Yeah,
entitled
just like you do on land. Easement.
No,
But-
it's not like they own it. No. It's different from owning the land. Innocent passage doesn't give you
Easement.
right.
I not say you own the land.
Innocent
You give your
passage
neighbor at the back easement.
Innocent passage not give you a right to the economic resources. No, when it comes to territorial land, either water or sea, you have absolute full right to it. When it comes to the economic zone, you will have to share that with those who are next to you. But you have this, you will have the control. So one is outright ownership, territorial waters. The economic zone, you have to share that. Then you have the innocent passage, where they have to have under the law.
Look, what I'm saying to you is that the economic zone form part of the 200-mile nautical mile allocation called continental shelf. The word simply means whatever also under the sea, seabed.
Okay, and I'm trying to get the point though, because
Yeah.
the Maritime Areas Act, as Joe is saying, something that was agreed upon, will probably have to be in place whether we like it or not, because it'll probably be a part of the ICJ's ruling, and we have to ask, how much do we really want peace? Do we want to continue this claim forevermore, as it seems some people want to? Or and let me ask one serious question here. Is maybe not a drop of water and not a blade of grass too stringent a point to negotiate from if we're looking to move forward?
Me, you asking?
And you can answer that. Yeah.
We will pass that point, my brother. We have agreed to go to the ICJ. We are at the ICJ. The case is oral argument side. That is very far. Set to begin and it will be complete within a year. So we will have those decisions. We will have those decisions, including the debate over allocation. I don't believe they will get anything having to do with the Maritime Areas Act, because I won't debate it, because we already disagreed. But it was self-inflicted. It was not a treaty. So we could repeal it at any damn time, which we did.
What are you talking about, self? You have to explain that. You mean that we are the only ones?
Is a law in your country. If the UN even put up a treaty and you sign on to it, you have to domesticate it for it to take effect in your law, in your country.
Do you understand that as it is, you have to give that maritime area? Do you realize that, or you don't agree with that? Are we going to say to Guatemala and the World Court, no, we're not going to allow them through at all? Then when they want to pass close Sweden, is that what we're going to do? And that's what it seems like some people are saying.
It is not true that they can't get out to the high sea, my brother. It is not true. It is simply that their space small. Their space small.
Small, I don't know Dorico got you.
Well, what the hell? If ours was small, would it make any difference?
Yes, it would. Because if we move forward, we better do so in a neighborly way. Do you
know? In a cowardly way, not in a cowardly way.
Not in a what?
Look, our territory.
How would you describe being cowardly as opposed to being neighborly?
I am saying to you that reasonable people find a solution. They negotiate. If they want to use our space, we could come to terms. Yeah, we could charge them to pass if they want to. If they're so big and they need more space, we could charge them. No problem. But it is our territory is our territory. Our maritime is our maritime. We don't have to do any damn thing but then.
You seem very inflexible, though. I mean, as far as you.
What do you mean?
You sound like a lot of
they
people.
They are doing the same thing as nationalists and patriots in their own country.
Nationals and patriots is my foot. That's jingoism. That's war talk. Are you able to back that up with any kind of ass behind it? Are you?
Well,
Where you gonna back it up with?
If needs be, and blood have to shed, let it be so. Why
You
are you
serious?
afraid?
Whose blood? Whose blood? Yours? Your children?
If
Your
needs
children?
be, if needs be, if needs be, yes.
Why you're crazy? Why does it need to be?
Because
Why?
I will not put my tail between my legs.
What is
Our country
putting?
is our damn country, G Mike.
Man, you sound
It's
erratic.
ours.
You sound
It's ours.
erratic.
We were in the face of down in intimidation. We are put a tail between the legs and tell the terror volunteers they can't go to the down because they want territory. They want them South Sudan Island. How crazy can that sound?
What price would you give for peace?
Bloodshed if needs be.
What price would you pay for peace? Nothing, huh?
I just answered it.
Anyway, listen. The situation being what it is, I think that we all agree that we're going to the ICJ. We should wait until we get a decision. If we're gonna fight, then at least wait for see what we're gonna fight for. We might have no reason to fight. How about that? In fact, if you were correct that the case is ironclad, what will there be? Why? But to just fight because we want to prove that we could fight is stupidity. That's not bravery.
Can I explain to you why they are going? Why Guatemala is going?
I mean, why Guatemala is going where? To
the
the
ICJ? Why they agreed to go?
Why?
Because after the 50-year statute of limitation ran out, they knew. So they came back and they wrote diplomatic notes saying they no longer want to negotiate bilaterally, based on their 1940 revised constitution. So that's when they started a lot of, troubles, just as they are doing at the South Sudan, right? Intimidation and so on, psychological warfare. And early 2000s, the first time of PM Musa, they were doing a lot of that 2002 and so on. And that's how we invited the OAS to come in. And, because they also agreed. And so both sides agreeing to use the OAS as an intermediary. By 2008, after PM Musa's administration had drafted that special agreement, Barrow met it on the table and saw that it was a download agreement, and in December he signed it. When government changed the same year, 2008, he signed the same agreement, but it was drafted by the PUP Musa administration. And
is that the
agreement? Sorry?
Are you talking about the adjacency zone?
No, I'm talking, that came before. The adjacency zone is to keep the peace and so on.
All right.
But the special agreement that has us at the ICJ is what I'm referring to. Signed December 2008.
The special agreement to go to the ICJ.
Right.
Okay.
And the reason they signed it is because they want ICJ to build the cap. Simple as that. Because they know that they can't, a president cannot do it. Otherwise it would be treasonous. But they know they don't have a leg to stand on. They never had administration over Belize.
Do you have
do
you have faith in the ICJ? Do you believe they'll be fair?
For the reasons that it's a majority opinion. They're not of the 15 judges, they know everybody have to agree. That is one, but also because once a border is established, it cannot be changed. And we have 2 treaties for that. And each of them can stand on their own. You mentioned one, 1859, but 1931 is also a diplomatic note confirmation treaty to make the same temporary stone pile border marks permanent, which the permanent ones are there today. If 1859 was no longer valid, they wouldn't go ahead and sign 1931. Think about that.
All right. What do you think about the Budna affair?
I just think that it's fair to all sides to put it to an independent investigation, because there was a stint he had I'm not saying he's a noble character. I won't defend his conduct or his record.
I hope
I'm
you
not
wouldn't
here for
try.
that.
I
But
hope
I'm
you
saying
wouldn't
that
try.
no, I wouldn't try. I'm saying that because he had a very bad stint with the PM the day before, the PM
Oh,
would also want that to be cleared up. Because um so
Jules,
so
Jules,
so
Jules, Jules has had some very bad stints with the PM. Nobody has grabbed him and taken him anywhere. And he has had some hostile exchanges with the PM. And I think many times bordering disrespect. Nobody has taken. How many people do you know has been hogtied and delivered anywhere? Somebody that was not wanted by the law. Somebody that did not commit a crime. How many? How many do you know?
Miles, there was a dark skinned fellow named Miles who was hogtied by the Mayans. So at one point there.
Oh man, that nothing close to this. That has nothing to do with that. The
Okay.
because if you want to rehash that one day, do alcaldes have any authority?
I'm glad we laugh over these things. But
Well, I'm glad you find it funny because.
let the chips fall, Mike. I think all of us want that. The reason being that
But how can you use my question would be how could you use Miles as an example of somebody being tied and delivered somewhere else? Who was he delivered to except the police?
look, I am saying, even though it's not a one-to-one correspondence by any stretch, I'm just saying that there's a police branch in PG, but the community decided to take matters into their own hand. Huh? They didn't go to the police with the Miles matter.
So the alcalde have any authority in our community like down there that the Mayan communities?
I'm saying that you could do a civil arrest. You and I can do a civil arrest.
Yeah,
and they chose to do that.
Wasn't that basically what was done? Yeah. So I don't see how that is an example of somebody hogtied and delivered to another country or delivered anywhere.
You and I think we can only go by what we see. We so
all right.
Things have to play out. Things have to play out.
Do you see ordinary citizens? And when I say ordinary, somebody that's not an escaped criminal, because let us not forget that he is an escaped criminal. I think if anything Belize did wrong was waited too long, waited 6 years to deliver a fugitive from justice back to justice, and not an exemplary Belizean by any far stretch of the imagination. A man who has done time in jail for boogering a little boy. If that was your son, would you stand in defense of him?
I just disagree wholeheartedly with your premise and all. Because people have rights. Even a dog, you have that rights, G-Mike. And when you are a citizen of a country, there's a due process. And due process must be followed regardless of how you look, regardless of how you behave, regardless of your record. Due process is due process. And as citizen, every citizen has rights. And in the justice system, they should be equal. They should be equal in our constitution.
Wait a minute.
The law should apply evenly for Budna as it applies for any citizen of Belize.
You're saying the same thing. I don't care how many times you say it. It does not make much more sense. What you're saying, yes, there's due process. Everybody knows that. Does anybody lose any rights upon being convicted, in particular of those serious offenses? Is there any rights lost to prisoners? Are they in jail? Do they still have all the rights of a regular citizen out here on the street who have not committed any crimes? Because he did commit crimes.
That is not your business. That is not your business.
What do you mean that's not my business?
You are suggesting
how can you say he as a citizen has right, but me as a citizen don't have any?
No,
is that what you say?
You are suggesting if I in other words heard what you said.
Right.
I'm rephrasing now. That they should have bundled him, Belize should have bundled him a long time ago and delivered him. I totally disagree.
From the fact that they found out he was a fugitive from the law, as a goodwill measure, they should have given him back to what, in particular, after he served 10 years in Belize. And I'm glad you find it funny, because I don't. Spent 10 years in Belize for boogering a little boy, 14-year-old. Had he been returned that 6 years ago, he would not have been that little 16-year-old boy that died at his residence, that is still shrouded in mystery, would not have happened. Do you get my?
Yeah,
let the mayor win. Let the mayor win.
I'd like just to say a few words on the Budna case. I think we have exhausted it in a sense, but it will remain relevant to us into the indefinite future. The Budna case is a case that no care what crimes he may have committed and he was convicted of, that even when you are a prisoner, yes, your rights are limited, but there are certain rights that still have to be given to you.
Right.
So if Budna had committed an offense in Guatemala and he fled Guatemala to Belize, then there is a process you should apply to get him back. You cannot violate his rights, which he has under the constitution of this country. So the Budna case must be remembered, not for who Budna is as a criminal, but it must be remembered for all of us who believe in the rule of law and that the Constitution is the supreme law of this land. And that is what we must defend. It's not Budna policy.
I hear all of that, but I believe that Belize broke the law. The country of Belize broke the law by harboring a fugitive. And these are international crimes that he committed. Kidnapping, not just one localized thing. That one international. They could go all over the world and get you for that. I would have been concerned had Guatemalan police or security forces come to Belize and get Budna.
But Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Belize never did harbor a fugitive. We didn't.
Why?
Because if he was a fugitive, then Guatemala should seek to get him.
All right, but that whether they did or not. But I don't think that you can say that because they didn't seek him, he was not a fugitive. We knew for a fact that he escaped from prison in Guatemala. It was no secret. We knew it.
How you know? See, these are the things, right?
What do you mean, how you know? We know that. That is a fact, but you ask me that.
No, but if you are a fugitive, because you know it to be a fact that you committed a crime in another country, and you escaped from the jail, and you came to the land of which you are a citizen of, the country that you are a citizen of have no right to want to carry out the decisions of that court in another country. That country must seek to the country where he is to get him back. That's
right. That is the law. And part of international law. And we don't have a treaty with Guatemala, but we have something like a memorandum of understanding. But they didn't go through that.
Yeah, what I find amazing is that they're not even now referring to this man as anything other than a journalist. So he's a freelance journalist. He has a social media network. Never do you hear he was a convicted pedophile. Let me see what this fellow is saying. He always gets some interesting. You present a compelling argument, Percival. However, in this rapidly evolving world where powerful nations are oppressing smaller and less developed countries, and where authoritarian regimes are misusing their authority, we cannot anticipate fair play from those in power. Consider the situations unfolding in Palestine and Ukraine. I believe it's going back to the whole matter of the ICJ, but the ICJ is comprised of 15 judges of high integrity, and the United States is not one of them. Israelis are not one of them. Guatemala, they're not one of them. So I believe that I wouldn't bring into disrepute the integrity of those. I would prefer to give them the benefit of the doubt. Things happen, and sometimes it's horrendous and inexplicable, but I would give them the benefit of the doubt, in particular since we have no other option available to us. I hear people out there acting as if we do. Government should do more. Government should make sure and stick to an side. Government should put troops on the border. Are you kidding me? Is this what we're going to do? Challenge them to a fight? We're going to lose. In fact, we can't depend on God for defend us anymore because most of us now don't even believe in God. You try put to somebody that 1798 we were successful because we were blessed and God made God. You want them to laugh at you louder than you are laughing now, Percival, because nobody believes that anymore. Do you believe?
You're onto something, G Mike. The mayor himself, he he don't a financial analyst, auditor, this and that. We know that the government only got $1 to spend. So you can't put every dead dog that the government do. Like, go mine the border, put resources out there, this, that. So people want services, they want this, they want that, but then you have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Are we willing to pay for that? Are we going to
we don't have it like that. We would have to expand the economic base, the economic pie. We would have to have new revenue stream to do all those things. So the government has to make the hard decisions, and we, the citizens, should be very understanding of that. So towards that end, I am agreeing with you.
I know, and you're going to a part of that Joe likes to talk about, which are citizen participation, involvement of the electorate. Many times we sit down on our hand and wait for government to do anything, not realizing that we are the government, that we then represent, that we put them there.
Yes.
I have been trying to make this point that I believe that Guatemala is a large market. 18 million people, 36 times our size. Anything we can produce or grow, we can market once we establish good relations with these people. Why are we hesitant? Why don't we want to pursue this from a peaceful point?
No, we are though. We have trade agreements with Guatemala. We have at least 18 that I know of that are signed. Yeah. So we are doing even Coanal, I believe, the goal of Mexico and Guatemala. We have, and by the way, I mean they're cheaper with respect to transport, logistic. So we do. So there is, we have Mayans on both sides. We got Garinago on both sides of the border. So the people have their beans, their can, and so where they want trade and things like that. So whether formal or informal, if you informal government don't necessarily get it cut, so might as well make it formal trade. And so that's ongoing. That will not change. We must also remember, towards your point, that we share water catchments. Disease don't got no border. So we can't change Guatemala from being a neighbor. So we need to be sensible and reasonable about this.
And they're not going anywhere. Go ahead, Joe.
During the 1998-2008 government under the Musa, I was a minister of government then. And there was a period when I held the portfolio for commerce. But we had a very deliberate and conscious decision that we will try to encourage investors from Guatemala to come to Belize. And we felt that through trade, that would have been an opportunity for us to begin to build a goodwill relationship. Whereas the country would want investments from wherever we can get it within reason. We knew that the population, the demand within the Central American countries up to Panama and into the CARICOM countries and those within the whole Caribbean civilization.
Right.
We had about 135 million consumers. So we made a deliberate effort, and that's just how we ended up with 1 or 2 businesses in Belize. But we felt that could have developed a relationship. We believe the animosity which was coming would have been tempered. And the minute you have that investment here, obviously, the people who are investing in this country will not tolerate those so-called, what they call them in Guatemala, the hierarchy, the elitists.
Right.
No.
Yes.
I think that we did pretty good in moving in that direction. But you made a point, and I think I want to come back to it. And I think the Prime Minister mentioned it. Guatemala, given the structure of it, with the hierarchy, and particularly the few elites, there still seems to be controlling the government, as they have been doing with all these coups and military controls. So what is happening at the South Sudan doesn't seem to have the concurrence of the president. It doesn't.
Now, a military thing, it seems.
That's right. It seems that it is coming from some within that head group, that what they call the old guards, that still want to show as if though they want to run things. So I think that the government so far is taking the right position. And it is good to advise those who are tempted to want to go there and to provoke it to maybe calm down a bit, not to say not to go, but to be careful, because there's no need. Let's wait for the results from the ICJ.
Exactly. I think both governments have done well to keep us at least the position where we are so far. Because, I mean, given the volatile nature of this matter, anything number could have been played along the way. I mean, really, I think we've done well in because we remain with all our territories intact. So now it's just a matter now of the ICJ to decide how we go. And I can't see them dismantling us as a nation. The population of Belize has basically overwhelmingly declared we want to be an independent nation. We want to handle ourselves on this now. We don't want to be a part of Guatemala. And I believe there are many people in Guatemala that likes Belize as a separate country, in particular the ones that can send their children over to learn English. Yeah, we have friends on both sides of the border. There's a village out there, Arenal, that has half of the football field in Guatemala and half in Belize. And I was saying that we could work together as neighbors moving forward. Why the animosity? But we were trained as children, I recall it, to hate Guatemala. Because Guatemala one way and Guatemala they come, and we don't want none for doing Guatemala. And I think that one foolish and immature point of view.
I would like to maybe expand a bit to Mr. Chairman and Mr. Percy. Let's go back to the journey that Belize set out to do in terms of the internationalization of the issue and to win the support of the world. You know, the British, when we declared to them our intention, the British felt that we were wasting with time, that we would never be able to achieve it. The British thought so.
Well, the colonialists, get out from under colonialism. What intention?
No. Listen to me good what they say. When we decided, the surprise was still the Prime Minister, that we will go now internationalize our issue. So you had us from the school. We were all schoolmates, and we were all left, and we were POPs. Asad Schumann, Elvira, Bobby Leslie, all of us.
Yes.
We thought that we too would be able to do it, and we set out to do it. And what we did first, we broke the Central American Solidarity Bloc, which was all with Guatemala.
Yeah,
we did when we befriended Omar Torrijos in Panama. And Omar Torrijos became a very good friend of Belize.
And he helped us along the way,
And he helped us to break that.
Yes.
Remember, they had the non-aligned countries then, 77 of them.
That's right. That's right.
We met with the non-aligned countries. And we won the support of the non-aligned countries.
Yes.
He set up headquarters, especially at the United Nations, to begin to win the support of other countries.
That's right.
When the final vote was called at the United Nations, it was the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He was a very good friend, Michael Manley of Carter. And Michael Manley was one of the most smartest men in the world. That was how he was dubbed. And he convinced Carter to support Belize. So when we went for that vote, the final vote before independence, the only country that went with Guatemala was Israel and I think 2 or 3 others. So we won that victory at the international, at the United Nations is being used at the International Court of Justice in our favor. Because we won it.
Yeah.
So to show you, when the British thought that we couldn't do it, we did it. Now, let me take you into the future. If you quickly, I want to try to. So therefore, I am saying that there is a move taking place today. And Donald Trump, to me, is aiding and abetting towards the multipolar world again.
Correct.
Which
Correct.
he himself,
That is the problem.
no, he thought that the unipolar world with America ruling, that is coming to an end. And he's encouraging it. Why? Because he's offending his very allies. So what has happened? These BRICS countries, for example, with China and Brazil and all of them in, we have the capacity to win support against one country which will be considered relatively small within that global sphere.
Correct. Correct.
So
Correct.
Belize doesn't have to use weapons, military weapons.
We don't have it.
That's right. We can use our diplomatic weapons, which we are very good at.
That is what Joe, you know, and I don't think we have enough appreciation for that. But let me read this first. All right. The ICJ's ruling on Palestine does not seem to impact the ongoing tragedies affecting Palestinians today. That is noted. It raises questions about the effectiveness of such rulings in influencing the perspective of the Guatemala elite now and tomorrow. I don't think we should even worry about that, because the judgment coming down, when it's in our favor, if we have to fight, then Percy, I will be shoulder to shoulder with you, because we have done what we can diplomatically, and we're going to have to be like the Palestinians and not give up. But I wanted to say, Joe, that part of it is not appreciated enough. There was a time when I remember reading in a book when a guy said if there was an end of the world, Belize would be it. British Honduras would be it. I don't know if you remember that.
I read the book.
Nobody knew of Belize. Belize was just this area, well, British Honduras then. And in fact, many people thought when you said British Honduras, no, British Honduras. I remember trying to explain to people when I first went to the USA, and that was way back in '69, that I'm from British Honduras, because of course that's what we were then. And nobody knew where we were. Nobody, they heard of Honduras, but not British Honduras. We went from that to what the vote that Joe is talking about, where the majority of countries acknowledge our independence and acknowledge that we deserve the right to self-determination. Again, we need to understand, and going back to what the gentleman wrote, that Israel was one of the last countries to acknowledge that, and that Israel and Guatemala are close allies. In fact, Israelis train the Kabylie, which is the Guatemalan army. They arm them. They carry Israeli weapons, Uzis and whatnot. They get all their military equipment from there. So I'm saying that this is what concerns me more than anything else. And that, in fact, we have to be careful of that. We have to understand that we're at a disadvantage.
There was a gentleman that put up something just before this, which I think you made a comment on. And I will wish he could put it up back, not for us to debate it at length. But he's pointing out something that is extremely important. And he's citing cases, and it's not to contradict what we are saying, but it's to take account of it, where decisions are made. See it right here? I don't know.
No, that's not it. This is something else.
No, this is different. Yeah, but it is the one before. What he was saying.
We'll come back to that. Hold on. Let me see what DJ is saying. Because okay, this is the one that this guy
he's making up.
And this Jerome was saying that Aldous Huxley was the English writer and philosopher. He wrote that book. Right.
Who wrote the book? If the world had any end, Belize would certainly be one.
Yeah. See why you putting these up? Put up the one by where the guy name? And guy Israeli name or Israeli or something. But
yeah.
All right.
Given
the evidence and Guatemala's behavior over the decades, it is clear that this dispute is destined to escalate. Now, this is another one. This is not one we were talking about. No injunction or ruling from the ICJ will deter Guatemala from pursuing its agenda. I don't agree with that. The president has made it quite clear that he will respect the opinion of the court. Will Mejia?
Yeah, but in addition,
let me finish. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Mejia and the Belize territorial volunteers have demonstrated that Guatemala intends to annex territories in the Sartún area and elsewhere along the adjacent zone. It is only a matter of time before they increase their provocations. Now, I disagree. And I don't think that Will Mejia has shown anything except a willingness to try to antagonize this situation. But other people hail him as a hero. That's all good and well. I have no problem with that. I think that what he's doing is dragging us into this conflict deeper, escalating this matter more than the Guatemalans even are doing themselves. To what? Make yourself a martyr? Is that it? I mean,
yeah, but that statement made, I'm disappointed if it is coming from me here.
No, that's not, that was Mejia writing that. That was a gentleman.
Who said that he said it?
Yeah.
Was very unpatriotic.
Yeah, but if I may.
You're very unpatriotic. Let me tell you quickly why. If I am to begin to give some sort of recognition and merits to any threat being made by the oligarchy of Guatemala, and I tend to begin to create despair, that is unpatriotic.
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
That's my comment.
Yeah.
Let me make this abundantly clear that provocation could be argued either way by both countries.
Of course. Of course.
But Belizeans have the rights to go to the Sartún, man.
But do we have a right to provocate?
But let me finish. Allow me. The BDF is establishing effective control for us. I agree with that. We have a base, sort of a base there, a little thing there. You know, that's swamp there. But they are patrolling, they are establishing effective control for us. But look,
that's not enough.
Patriots. So we could agree to disagree on, or I think he should have gotten an award. But let me move on. A hero's award.
But when you move on, you move on. But don't move on if you know and move on. Because I disagree wholeheartedly. I think he has to be careful that he doesn't drag us into a conflict that he himself cannot fight. If he's not the only one that going to fight, and you and him, Percy, I could understand. You don't care for we young men to die because that's the one I'm going to do. Do you get my point?
Long time. However, provocation, I said, can be argued on both sides. So we don't get anywhere with this because I just agree to disagree. Because look, anyway, better we move on. But the UN has the tool to enforce the ruling, you know, with a peacekeeping force. When they come, even though I believe we should expect hiccups from Guatemala.
How can they use that tool in Palestine? Because they have made the ruling.
And by the way, when it comes to Israel, I heard talking about Israel. Israel, when we didn't have diplomatic relations with Guatemala, Israel was the mediator, you know, under Esquivel. So they enable talks, you know, secret talks, and so that to further aid us to where we got to the maritime areas. Because in that 20-year span, from 79 to 98, we changed government 4 times, remember?
All right.
Esquivel price 4 times.
All right. But see, I got a problem with dropping things and running past it. Because you're saying that they aided us to get to the point with the Maritime Area Act, but you have said that you don't agree with the Maritime Area Act. And
I also said it served a purpose.
What purpose?
Well, like I said, when we did it,
so that
we established diplomatic relations in both countries. That was one of the benefits of it.
But then
we took the relationship to another level.
And then we decided, all right, so we get what we want out of it. We don't want it again. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that by the time now we passed referendum in both countries, it has already exhausted then its usefulness.
But how could
you know what you inflict on yourself, self-inflict, give the other country 9 out of 12 of your territorial waters to control, man. No, man.
Do you understand? Do you understand what the Maritime Areas Act was really all about? Because you say, how could you just use that for where you need it for, and then after that disregard it? Things don't happen like that.
Things expire, man.
What
Life is life.
expire? Did the Maritime Areas Act expire?
Usefulness. He exhausted.
All right. You know what? Make we yeah. All right. Make we move on because this next subject also interesting. The matter of Mr. Andrew Mullins going to jail. What's your opinion on that one?
Again, I think we will be agreed that we want one standard of justice. We're good for goose, good for gander. So the only thing wrong with that one is not that some people shouldn't be paying their taxes. Of course they should come to terms, work out an agreement. But if it must be applied equally. So if there's a problem with the legislation, fix the legislation. If there's a problem with implementation, fix implementation, and or both. If there's a problem with how the courts, then fix that as well. But I'm saying, right, there seems to be something wrong. If somebody owe 1 million or more, right, and they're out here scot-free, and then somebody owe 5,000, and you hurry seal bangles to Canada jail. So it appears, I'm not saying that's what happened. Mayor, look like G Mike, we lose G Mike.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm listening to you. I'm waiting for you to finish.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we just want to ensure that the same things we want for ourselves and our children.
It's a level playing field. You want a level playing field.
Yes, yes.
And I could agree with that. However, I think we need to take one case at a time. There's a fallacy of argument known as whataboutism. In other words, what about him then? I suppose he broke the law, him broke the law, and I don't think that makes any sense. I think looking at this case individually, it seems Mr. Mullin started a business, and by his own account, because he did give an interview, he wasn't aware of the whole particulars of filing taxes and gathering taxes and whatnot until he realized, well, maybe I didn't make any money out, they might come check with me. So he dealt with the tax department and they came up with an agreement how much money he was supposed to be paying, but apparently not paying it because he would advise that. In fact, he went. When they told him how much to pay, he didn't pay, and they took him to court. Went to court, and he apparently agreed that yes, I owe some money, and agreed that he would pay X amount every month. But then he consulted somebody. Somebody told him, "Why that an unfair thing? They're not right for charge you when they charge you. That's wrong." Now, instead of appealing the decision, which he had already agreed to, he decided, well, boy, I know I pay that then. And this apparently is what happens. Now, I had a lady from income tax. And if she's lying, then that's a big problem. If she's not lying, then we have to look upon it for what it is. That, in fact, it might very well just be the consequence of his actions, her reactions, his ignorance, his not knowing what is going on. I don't know what else could have done or should have been done.
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me give you the facts as I know them, because the matter is going before the court, as you know. The law firm of Courtney and Coy representing Mr. Money before the court.
Which is interesting.
And they have already filed a complaint to the tax department, with, of course, the Attorney General as the first defendant and the Commissioner of Tax as the second defendant. The issue, and I want to try to put it in a nutshell for you, because I've read the whole litigation and I've read the memorandum which was sent first, which Mr. Mullins then, after he had gone to the court, based on what he thought he had to do because they told him that is what he should pay. And of course he defaulted. And once you have defaulted, they come to you with a JDS, which is a judgment debtor summons. And once they come to you with the judgment debtor summons, you cannot pay or go to jail. That was what had happened up to then. But on August the 15th, I think it was, a memorandum was sent to the tax department by the law firm to inform the tax department that they had unlawfully assessed him. And they laid out clearly the circumstances under which the tax department had unlawfully assessed him. And I'll explain that quickly as I could. And therefore, they advised the tax department to review the assessment. And if you do not review it, then we're going to the court. They did not review it, which they should have. Now, what they did was this. He carries out this service as an undertaker, but he organized his business in a way that he doesn't do all the things them, so he gets other people to do them. For example, he needs to, the client comes to him and tells him, listen, I want you to do this funeral for me. He get the level of funeral he need, the package, and he said, all right, I want to charge you, say $10,000, just as an example. What he does, the way his business was organized, is that he doesn't buy a casket and sell it. All he does was to find providers of services, and he acts as an agent for the client. So now, if this casket, for example, $1,000, fine. The money doesn't pay to him. He's only acting as an agent. That $1,000 is to be paid to the person who provides the casket. He pays somebody to dig the hole. That money is to pay to that person who dig the hole, but he's the agent, so he organized everything. So all the pamphlets, all the priests, everything was listed in the litigation letter. That these money, which the tax department had taxed him on, were unlawful because they could not have taxed him on those. Those was not under the law. He talks about receipts. And when he mentioned receipts, he talks of revenues. But the receipts under the law meant that the receipts that is taxable is the receipt which you are the beneficial owner of.
I heard you. Go ahead. I heard you say, Joe, that his attorneys went to the tax department and told them that you use the wrong structure for taxing this gentleman, and if you not review it, we're going to court. And they didn't review it.
No, what? So, sorry.
Right.
Did they not go to court then?
No. What happened? The lawyer prepared a memorandum.
Right.
So,
Right. He wrote.
To Mr. Munnings, not to the tax department. Mr. Munnings now is to write on to the tax department, which he did, to tell them that he is going with the advice of his lawyer.
Right.
And that he gave them what you call a pre-action protocol letter. That's what the lawyer told him to do, and he did it. He's telling him now, I will show you why you had unlawfully assessed me. And I am agreeing with my lawyers that you will wrongly assess me. Now, if you do not agree to review the assessment, I am going to the court.
Right.
They did not review it.
Did they go to court?
Well, the litigation has been sent already.
No.
No, they're going to the court.
Yeah, but weren't they supposed to go to court before he was arrested and taken to jail? Wasn't that what? Because wait a minute. Are the lawyers saying that if you don't reassess it, we're going to court, but when we wait to see if you arrest him before we go to court?
No.
No. When did they go to court?
No.
Had they already filed the procedure?
Before he had seek any professional advice, he get an accountant.
Right.
And the law firm.
Right.
And I happen to know about both of them. No, I'm saying to you that when he did that, they had already done the assessment, and he was almost like under duress. So he had to, he agreed to it, not knowing what to do. But when he agreed to it, that was his mistake. Because the minute he agrees to it at the court, he agreed to pay, and he couldn't pay. So once he couldn't pay, that is when they took out the JDS against him on judgment debtor summons.
So he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Can then
after that happened to him, then it was when they begin to get advice right away.
Right.
And he found out that they had unlawfully assessed him because
Right.
they should not have assessed him on those amounts.
And
And
then
therefore, the lawyer prepared a memorandum to him to read out to list why is it that he was unlawfully assessed, and to let he prepare a pre-action protocol letter, and he gave that to the tax department to tell them he's agreeing with the advice given to him and that they should reassess him. And if they don't reassess him, then he's going to the court. So no, he's going to the court.
No. Now he's got, but Joe, you're missing something there, man. Because all of this happened before he was arrested and taken to jail. Correct?
No.
No, all of that happened after he was arrested?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of late, don't you think? So how can then those liars sue the government when in fact he made a mistake?
No.
Landing up in jail. You said he made a mistake.
No. What he did, Mr. Chairman, he was assessed by the tax department.
Correct.
And because he had agreed that he was to make the payment, that's what I'm told up to then. He never had any legal, he never had no professional advice yet.
Right.
So they went in and they assessed him. And it seems that he had promptly decided to give in.
And made an agreement with the court that he would pay X amount every month.
Right. To the exorbitant amount.
Right.
And
so then, after that, though, that's when he consulted attorneys.
That's right.
And he was advised that it was wrong what they were doing to him.
That's right.
So what was his move then?
The move now is that the lawyers...
No. Then, what was his move to do then to avoid what happened?
He couldn't avoid that then.
He couldn't do nothing then? He had to wait to go to jail before he did something?
No. He never waited till he got to jail.
He had already filed for a renewal, a review of the tax structure that they had used to tax him, that amount. Is that it? He had already done that. And they still carry on a jail. Then I imagine...
No. The only way he could have gone to jail, he had to have either agree or he lost. I go to jail. Sorry,
all right.
You
he defaulted on the loan.
I owe you $5,000.
Right.
I said, no, I am not guilty. There is a trial. I lost the case. The complainant won the case.
Right.
The court then gave me the chance to say, well, listen, you got to pay this $5,000. No, we'll come up with an agreement. Because you lose, you can't argue. You lost your case.
Right.
Then you decide, no, I want to work out something with you. I want to pay you $500 a month, for example.
Correct.
I agree to that. No,
and
I find that I can't make the payment. I begin to default. Then the complainant come back and they take out one judgment, debtor summons against you. So when he does that and he goes to the court, if you do not pay, then you're going to jail. And that was why he got into jail.
Okay. So now, but after that, what point did he recognize that this is unfair what they're doing to me? And he got the advice.
I wouldn't be able to give you all of those because I wasn't really involved.
I know, but irrelevant to the case, don't you think?
Yeah, but what is to me important is what is already published. In meaning that they have already sought litigation. They have taken out a suit against the tax department. They were going to sue them.
All right. Before he went to jail.
No, just to take the suit.
All right, but I'm saying what the problem is they're gonna sue them now. After the fact though. What's are they and tell me what, does it raise any kind of eyebrow on your part that these two lawyers, former ministers of government, are part of the government that they're taking themselves to court? Is that it?
No.
Well, let me, if I may.
Go ahead.
The guy spoke at length into the camera over the past 24 hours.
I saw that.
And he in part said, in other words, said he felt ambushed. That the tax lawyer, their representative, met him outside of the court when they put the bench warrant, whatever, and he was forced to go. He said, why better you plea? So he plead. So it's like
He plead
both
what?
track
He plead what? Guilty?
guilty to the inflated, and so they slam the inflated, you know, assessment on him.
Right. And agreed
So
to pay it.
right, and it was so he is trying to say in effect, and this is what I get at, that both tracks were running parallel. And if I hear the mayor correctly, former mayor, the tax were not heeding his threat that he would sue unless they reassess. And so they were pushing the arrest and court measure instead of negotiating. And that is where he has a point, in my opinion.
Joe, is that what you're saying? Is that correct?
In a sense, what you are saying is that, and I want to use the word which was not used, but I get the understanding that he acted under duress. He was pressured, and he gave in.
But this is one businessman, Joe. This is one child. This is one grown man.
No,
Support, and if you hear him speak, he's not a dummy. He obviously has a reasonable.
I am a chartered accountant myself, and I have been in both departments. I headed the customs, and I was senior in the tax department. I'm a tax expert myself. I'm a chartered accountant. No, I can tell you for sure, when it comes to small business in this country, many of them cannot afford to get the professionals. What we used to do, let me finish.
I hear you.
I get groups. I get people who are chartered accountants to give pro bono services to people who are just starting business.
That's what
has happened. This is where we need to have public officers who will be abide by what I consider to be ethics. Do not take advantage of a citizen because
ethics. I think I'm more compassion.
No, it's not compassion. It's not compassion. You, the bureaucrat, your loyalty is to the citizens of this country. You are being paid to serve them. Do not take a man or a woman simply because he doesn't have the wherewithal to pay his services and use it against him. No, you're I did that. I was a tax assessor, and I would never, ever find a person in that position and use the law against her. We should not.
Thank you.
You know what happened? I don't know what happened.
But the same due process that you're screaming for with Budna, the due process was working here. I mean, listen, and all for small entrepreneurs. I admire the gentleman wanting to make a business, build a business and whatnot. But there's some aspects to the business that you need to get educated and versed about. And if you have to ask if you are saying if you can get somebody to volunteer to help him out, that is wonderful.
I am saying to you, Mr. Chairman, I have dealt with hundreds and hundreds.
But Joe, that is neither here nor there, man. Let's take.
Mr. Chairman, it has to be here and there. Let me tell you why. If what they said they did, which is what I do believe they did.
Right, duress.
If you are the tax expert working for the tax department.
What is duress? What is duress? We all go through duress in our entire life every day.
Mr. Chairman, leave the duress alone. I don't want to discuss duress. Leave that out. Let's deal with just you are the expert for the government in taxation. You should not have taxed that man and what you're taxing man. That was wrong. No, not because I didn't know better that you were doing me something wrong. That means I am wrong. No.
Did they know? Did they know they were doing it wrong? And is that the assumption here? That the tax department knew they were taxing him wrong.
What I'm saying to you, and this is a fact, they lost a case before the court for this. You know what they did?
Joe, that's not the question. You're not answering the question. The question is, did the tax department know that they were doing wrong in taxing this gentleman this way, or were they not? They're doing it ignorantly and not. They should have known, but didn't know. Let me
put it to you the exact way I want to put it to you. I am not here to tell you that they are not competent, but I am here to say to you If that is what they did, they were wrong. Now, whether they do it intentionally or whether they do it out of ignorance, let the court decide that. But the fact is that if you are the expert in taxation and you say a citizen had not filed, and when now you go to do the assessment, you must know exactly what is the basis for the tax to be applied on. So I'll give two things will happen. The two main things, and everything will center around it. One, you should not have taxed him and receipts that were not revenue to him. He didn't get those money. You can't tax on it. They did that. Two, they were taxing him at 1.7. They should tax him at 1.75%.
But you would think that the tax department, think the tax department would know this, don't you?
If they didn't know it, they ought to have known it.
Yeah, because So and I heard Percy earlier say a couple of things, that there's areas of that needs to be worked on. That if the tax structure is not working fairly, they should deal with that.
But that is not the issue. No, that I am guaranteeing you. That piece of legislation, I was one of the architects of it along with Gandhi. I was the architect of it. And so is it fair? I am an expert in taxation. I'm asking you, is it fair, Joe? Not what you are. I am saying to you one more time. There is nothing wrong with the law. The law is okay. It was the application and interpretation.
Implementation. That's right. That's right.
But did they do that in an effort to penalize this gentleman and go after him?
Let me tell you what I think. I don't think they did it intentionally. I don't think so, and I hope they didn't. But let me tell you something, and I will not now get into this to call no names. There are cases that was known that had happened before, where they deliberately raise a high assessment on you. And then what they do, they negotiate and they get a portion for themselves and then drop it.
Wow.
So, I just said this on the air.
And that is blatant corruption, of course.
That is corruption.
I have heard that happening in the past. I'm not saying it's happening now, please.
Yeah. Well, listen, gentlemen, it is 9 o'clock.
I on this note. I believe personally, my personal opinion, that the commissioner of tax, I don't believe for one moment he did it intentionally. I believe that it was a mistake, if that was so. I do not believe that. I don't know how to be somebody like that. So I would not say that about her.
And if now they acknowledge their mistake, is there anything they can do except that the government to pay this gentleman a whole lot of money?
What I would hope will be done, seeing that there is a litigation, I would think that it would be good for them to attempt to settle out a court, try to work it out. I don't think that the tax department, and that's my judgment, I don't think it's something they went after him to really needle him, to try to extort him. I don't think they did that. I think
if it was a legitimate mistake, then they have to get some consideration, don't you think?
Well, I think that in a case like that, remember the memorandum that was written to the tax department was to say that I am going with the advice by my attorneys, and I'm asking you then to reassess my case.
And you said this memorandum was written before he went to court?
I believe it could have been before. I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, all right. Listen, it's 9 o'clock, guys. Percy, thanks for stopping in. We hope any issues come up like that, we'll holler at you for sure. You seem to have a little knowledge there. I know you're not going to come out of the top of your head most of the time. You've been in the trenches. So, and Joe, again, really thanks a lot, guys. CY, we're done here.
back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme. First make we see how far your back bend. If you don't know how, get less of a current. Turn your body round like a smoothie or the blend. New dance trend. Style we no borrow, style we no lend. For sure, we no the beg no friend. From in the thing far way back when for the elders and the children. Can't do the sticky leg unless you do it like charge. Back it up in the garage. Make them know we squad living large. Hold a salute every sarge. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme. We like when you shake it. Never gonna DR if you can't fake it. Entire yam, heart and thick. Mama take 9 months to make it. Act like you didn't need Johnny cake before you bake it. Take a pass to the cars, then twerk it. Then your style you can't buy the new market. All of the style, Ling Bang surpass it, yo. Watch when they blaze it. Have the tremble like we don't tease it. Tell the DJ, rewind it. Bust a sweat and work it. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme. From Baka Jungle all the way to Yabra, Corozal and Dangriga. Check pa Mali's sister Julia, teaching the tourists the key kaka. Through the alley and the plaza, no jump past 41-mile marker. If you want something extra, I want you that feel Librata. Pay for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme.